Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. And that's right. Cash Code Word continues on here. Your chance to win up to $5,000. Courtesy of EGT Solar, the Treasure Valley Solar Authority. Our K-Millie Christmas Cash Code Word is corn. That's right, corn. And make sure you listen today at 8:05 for your next chance to win. Log on to KIDOTalkRadio.com. Go to the Cash Code section, and you could win up to $5,000 when you log in. Don't forget to listen today at 8:05 and 3:05 with Sean Hannity. Joining us now, the cybersecurity czar, if you will, Michael Dougherty. Good to have you with us, sir.
Czar, I don't know if I can accept that anointment. Good morning, sir.
Well, it's early, so we'll see what happens. So here we have the holiday season. Any tips on avoiding getting hacked and run amok?
Well, I'd say just I wouldn't use a debit card. I'd make sure my charge card is a type that if there's a problem, your card carrier won't hold you accountable for any of it. They don't, there's no $50 minimums. And then I would just not be paranoid, enjoy myself. I wouldn't be clicking on anything weird. Same old rules. Don't click anything stupid. Just be smart and you're fine.
And don't pull a John Podesta.
Don't pull a Podesta. Boy, oh boy. No. Don't make your password the word password or your birthday or your name, those kind of things.
Is it really that easy? Do some people really do that?
Yeah, and the thing about hacking is it only takes one idiot. And they've got software they can just repeatedly go until they find the one person, and that's what's scary. You're only strong as the weakest link. So, as far as taking care of yourself, if anyone's going to personally attack you, it's usually to hold your data ransom. So you should back up your data and make sure it's offline when it's not being backed up, and that way your stuff doesn't have value to someone else because you can always have access to it even if they have it. So, but as far as the big hacking, it's still 80% human error and a stupid move.
Michael Dougherty with us here. Does that really happen though? Like even in Idaho, you'd have somebody hack into your phone and hold your ransom?
Well, yeah, I mean they hack. Yeah, it does happen. It's like they're like the gypsies of the cyber world. It's easy money because a lawyer costs several $100s an hour, and the police often don't have jurisdiction and they don't know what to do because they're not technical experts. And the problem is there's a jurisdiction issue. What's your local police supposed to do when someone's hacking you from another country? What's the FBI supposed to do when the other country doesn't want to cooperate with the United States and you're just small peanuts and $1,000? So even hiring a lawyer is going to cost you several $1,000s. So when someone asks you for $2,000 or $500 or whatever, many people just shrug and say, "Pay it."
Wow. Michael Dougherty with us here as we continue on talking at KIDO Talk Radio. So let's talk a little bit about the WikiLeaks. They're releasing source code of the CIA's cyber weapon, probably one of many. And I love the headline, Deep State Panic Ensues. What's going on?
Well, there's a lot been talking about how this demoralizes the CIA and the NSA when someone like WikiLeaks can get their source code and their backdoors because these guys are trying to defend the country, and we've had a real problem in the country in the past several years. The trust in the U.S. government by U.S. citizens has gone way down because we don't see accountability from people in the government that do bad things. So when our data gets abused, we want to see accountability. And since we don't see that, we don't like the people having such access to all our information in the government. However, who's supposed to defend us? And most people in the government are quite good. So you've got WikiLeaks divulging this information, and many they've gotten it from insider threats. They've got it from hacking. Who knows where they get it because that is obviously not known. But what they divulged was how the CIA is hiding how people can identify that it's them doing the spying. And that's, these weapons of disguise and espionage are really important to defending the country. So when Assange does this kind of stuff, he hurts the good guys. and it gets people really upset.
Indeed. If the CIA can be hacked, if Sony Pictures can be hacked, what about Bitcoin?
Well, it's a different animal because the hacking is Bitcoin's just a whole value and trade system, so it's not centralized like that. And these people were, believe it or not, a lot of it's still human error. And when you look at the world of hacking, believe it or not, when you take all the mountains of stuff that has been actually hacked, the people that get actually damaged by it are few. And the big thing about the Sony hack was that it was so humiliating. I mean, they had people's personal emails of CEOs, salaciously talking about actors and actresses who they thought are jerks. That's probably the biggest thing why it got so much attention, and that, it was a movie. It was considered retaliation for an insulting movie for, Kim Jong-un, this idiot in North Korea. So those things are still based on human error. And Bitcoin's a whole different animal. That is a marketplace. So it's not a central bank.
Our great friend Michael Dougherty joining us here. Kevin Miller in the morning at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So what about the Russians and Donald Trump and this investigation? What do you think Mueller's up to?
I have no idea. I mean, to me it just still looks like a gargantuan political insiders going after the outsider. I mean, there's some people that wish to think it's the biggest sting operation ever on the Clintons. It's interesting what happens in the public mind because all this harassment, sexual harassment, corruption that are pulling people down left and right every day. Charlie Rose bit the dust yesterday. It's going inside the government. It kind of is eating the inside of the Democratic Party and taking away one big attack on Donald Trump because, they're throwing stones in glass houses. The same thing is going on with Mueller when people are going, look, no one's come up with anything yet. You're throwing Hail Mary passes way out on laws that you're trying to enforce, that if you enforce that law on everyone in Washington, you'd have way more people to arrest Hillary Clinton, for one. And so the big topic here is, who aren't you investigating, and why aren't you investigating them? So that's where I think where the public is. And that's actually where I'm at so far. This is just ridiculous. This whole Russian thing is ridiculous. It's fall moral outrage of what happened when their whole team lost.
Huh. Well, you still have Hillary Clinton mad about it.
Yeah. Well, she's got a lot of things to be concerned about since there's all these new allegations coming out against Bill yesterday. So we don't care that Hillary's mad. Hillary just can't get over it, and I don't know if she ever will. But that's really her problem. Although I'm amazed at people that actually pay to go sit and listen to her whine on her book. Like, where do you go to a book tour where people actually pay to listen to you complain? And it's amazing. That's the scariest part to me is the number of people that actually line up to write her a check still. That's scarier than the woman herself.
Well, it's all about judgment, right? Or lack thereof.
I don't know. It's all about protecting their point of view that has just been annihilated. I don't know what they say now. The whole Save the World crowd is learning that all those people that was, quote unquote, saving the world was actually being massive hypocrites, exploiting money, relationships, uranium, and women. And that's just for starters.
Well, here's the other one that gets me, and since we'll delve into this, what do you make of old Charlie Rose?
Well, I mean... and if you read that entire article in the Washington Post, holy cow, this guy's a pervert. I mean, he actually has. I mean, it's humiliating to him. I mean, it's like, dude, you're 65, she's 20. Yeah, keep your towel on. So that's the end of Charlie. He's 75, and I think he should just go and pretend this didn't happen and enjoy his retirement mansion in North Carolina. I don't know.
Well, and it's funny because to me there's never been a more sanctimonious anchor than Charlie Rose.
Oh, if you've seen some of his interviews, I forget, there was one recently where he really pushed back. You could put a real I'm sure someone will very soon, put a real string of hypocrisy comments, the way he pushes back on crime and exploitation and corruption, if if it's not within his political sphere. When the whole profile on me was put up in Bloomberg about a year ago, and people said, you're going to be on Charlie Rose and Bloomberg's going to move us all around, I laughed. I said, he will never in a million years put me on his show. It's not going to happen. I mean, I just sort of criticize his cronies.
Well, and getting back to Charlie, what goes on in this guy's mind? He's 75 now, but back, in the day, he was running around naked, putting his hand on their thighs. I don't really get the disconnect there.
Well, here's a guy that's really, really successful. He owned that show himself, so he must have been making money hand over fist. He really built his own brand, distributed on PBS, became sort of the elitist interviewer, ends up on 60 Minutes. He's just a real pompous guy. And so that just went over. And these people this is all about accountability. We're seeing the very beginning of accountability. I mean, this class of people in media, politics, all over, they're never held accountable. And it's a club. And if that club gets threatened, their partisan politics disappear. It becomes insider versus outsider, and we're the outsiders.
Well,
and this is the beginning of accountability, and it's great to watch, and I hope it spreads to outside sexual harassment. The other things these people have done are incredible. Look at the uranium thing. This is all the same mentality. They're above it all.
My favorite, though, is Hillary Clinton saying we have a man in the Oval Office accused of sexual harassment and not a lot is being done by it. And she's saying that with a straight face.
I know. Oh, she's a terrible liar because she says stupid things like that. She can't select how she's going to lie. She's married to a masterful liar. I love the one where she says, her husband never tweeted in the White House.
I'm not going to respond to that one.
Oh, it's amazing. But, it's going to get so bad.
Right.
What I get terrified of is some people still don't want to wake up, and I'm like, well, what's it going to take?
Now, Michael Dougherty, before we let you go, imitation's the greatest form of flattery. We have everybody now copying the Bitcoin, coming up with their own cyber security stuff. A, do you expect Bitcoin to last? And B, what do you make of everybody's coming up with their own currency? Perhaps we'll have the devil inside the Beltway currency soon.
No, I do think Bitcoin will last. And I don't think secondaries will, because there was a place for it, and it's filling the demand. I don't know what will happen as far as the government's putting their foot down. See, the reason it will last is because it's global, and trying to get governments to enforce and agree on anything is impossible. So it's transcending that. But other people getting their own currency, that's going to be a tough one, because the market's already been fulfilled and there's already demand. So, and who's going to do it? A company? That's not going to happen. So, no.
You believe Bitcoin's here to stay, though, huh?
I think for the least next 5-10 years. I think we got so many other things going on. I don't know what else people are going to do. There's a whole sub-movement. And when you see these governments starting to fight with themselves and implode, what are they going to do about it right now? They got all these other things going on. Like
North Korea.
Yeah. And those charming people, right.
Michael Dougherty, director of the National Cybersecurity Society, board member of Snoopwall. The Devil Inside the Beltway, the shocking expose of the government's surveillance and overreach into cybersecurity, medicine, and small business. Michael, we'd love to have you back. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, same to you. Thanks a lot, and I would love to come back. Take care, sir.
All right, our great friend Michael Dougherty. Coming up next, the bus. You remember riding on the bus? Well, in Idaho, believe it or not, we have a story of one local parent getting so mad at kids, he jumped on the bus and started yelling at them. We'll get their reaction next. Kevin Miller on this Thanksgiving week on KIDO Talk Radio.
I was really angry.
Cody Parton is among two other parents I spoke to today about this incident. They all learned about what happened at the bus stop after a phone call from the principal at Westridge Elementary.
These were young children who are now traumatized by a grown person, and that's not okay.
It's very frustrating when you know something's happening to your children and you want to get to the bottom of it as fast as you can. Also, as a man, I know that too, and as a dad, and protecting your kids is a number one priority.
Post Falls School District Superintendent Jerry Keene says police were contacted as a result of this parent's actions at the bus stop. He says starting Monday, a school resource officer will be at the bus stop before and after school.
Our job is to make sure that their students and staff are not only safe, but they feel safe. And so while we have no indication that there will be a repeat of this situation, we just want to make sure everybody concerned knows we're very serious about keeping them safe.
Keene says there is security video from the school bus showing the parent stepping onto the bus. But due to student privacy concerns, he says the video will not be released.
We've actually tried to go and speak to this man personally, as parents, and we can never get to them because they're never around.
These parents tell me this isn't the first time they've dealt with this individual who lives in their neighborhood. But the school district says if parents have concerns about their child's safety at the bus stop, they should report it to the district's office or to the police.
So there we have it in Post Falls, Idaho. You have a guy that was upset, jumped on a school bus, yelled at some kids, and apparently now the school district is upset. It shows you this is the crazy time of year. And if you're traveling, if you're just coming home, welcome back to Idaho. And you've seen a lot more building going on here in the Treasure Valley. You've seen a lot more congestion on the roads. There's actually traffic now on 84. But good to have you home. And if you're traveling to see your loved ones, please be safe and know that we'll be waiting for you back here in the Treasure Valley. We wish you safe travels, whether you're going north, south, east, or west, or east of the Great River. Know that we'll be thinking about you on Thanksgiving. And if you're away from your extended family, like a lot of us, know that there are a lot of things going on here in the Treasure Valley, and we're happy to have you with us. And if you're working on Thanksgiving, know that we appreciate your sacrifice, and you're doing a good thing, and that you are loved. I think we're the only talk show in America that would probably say that to anybody, but that's true. These are good times, stressful times, happy times, but tough times for folks. We want to let you know that we're sensitive to those things as we move along. Ray Amai is looking at me saying, what, are you going to introduce Michael Bolton now? No, let's get you to traffic and weather together. I'm Kevin Miller here as we move along here. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. So let's face it, it is never okay for anyone to get on a school bus and start yelling at kids, right? And remember, this is, how should we put this? This is one side of the story. But, why would the kids lie? Why would the bus driver lie? And maybe there was an issue. Maybe there was something else. But apparently this guy got on a school bus in Post Falls and started screaming at the kids, right? Crazy. Speaking of crazy, on a clearly, how should we put this, unintended segue, if you will. I was just browsing the paper, and apparently there's a big story concerning David Leroy running for Congress. Apparently Mr. Leroy doesn't live in the district. He lives in Eagle, which is just in the 2nd district. You heard Representative Perry saying she actually lives in the district. Then Mr. Leroy says he's going to move to the district. He's going to lease a house, and if he wins, he'll move there permanently. You think to yourself, does it really matter? I don't know. But it shows you one thing. And we picked this up last week when we were interviewing Representative Perry, is that as of at least right now, she's been in the race about a week, but she appears to be the most aggressive and the most assertive. Now, Mr. Leroy, a distinguished man, we have not heard from him. Now, Nick Henderson, who has Facebooked me a few times, we need to get Nick on. We need to, get everybody on. Michael Snyder, the best-selling author, we'll get him on. Russ Fulcher, we've had him on several times in the past. Luke Malik has been on this program. But when it comes to being aggressive, at least for the people that just don't, read the websites, you take a look at Christy Perry, and she's got David Leroy reacting. And you remember her comments, Representative Perry's comments, when she said, look, I knew where I was going to run, and that was, this race for Congress. That was a shot at former Senator Fulcher. And we're probably going to see more of this. And if they're reacting to you already within the first week, well, it shows you that business is about ready to pick up. Also, Dr. Ahlquist has released his plans to what to do with the opioid epidemic. And I don't know what it is with that word. I used to be able to pronounce it all the time. Now I've lost my opioid powers. However, he again continues to set the agenda. In one of the publications today, the Lieutenant Governor has released his financial report, his personal finances, voluntarily. So even though we're kind of getting towards the slow time of year, we see subtly things going on. And what's happening now in the political races is very simple, that people are going around the state, they're going around the country trying to get money for their campaigns. And you talk about a never-ending process. First of all, let's say you have a day job. Then you have to give up the day job to go traveling to all these exotic locations to meet with 6 people and to ask for money and all sorts of things. It's crazy. But that's what it takes to win. And that's how important this race is. So we'll have more on that. Our friend Phil Hardy, returning from Washington, he'll join us on Friday about this. Big show on Friday. Pamela Geller will return as well. Kind of a day after Thanksgiving special where we're going to have some big newsmakers on. But, I mean, does it really matter if someone lives in the district? I think it does. I think for credibility's sake it does, with all due respect to David Leroy. He says he's solved that problem and moving on. It just shows you that I think that's going to be a race that might not get as much attention as the governor's race, but that's going to be a highly important race within not only the state, but within the country. Coming up next, Roy Moore's accuser speaks out, plus your thoughts on you're sending your kid to school. They come back and little Timmy tells you that some guy jumped on a bus. Can you stop it? Can that be allowed? What would your reaction be if one of your children said there was a parent that got on the bus and yelled at us? We'll talk about that next. You're listening to Kevin Miller. By the way, our time at KIDO Talk Radio is 6:32 on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning.
And good morning, Kevin Miller with you here at KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you for joining us. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
NBC's Today Show outlining her allegations, first reported by the Washington Post, allegations that Roy Moore molested her when she was in her early teens. Listen.
He tried to get me to touch him as well, and at that point I pulled back and said that I was not comfortable, and I got dressed and he took me home. But I was a 14-year-old child trying to play in an adult's world.
Moore denies all the allegations against him and is focusing his campaign on painting his Democratic opponent as a liberal. This morning, in response to the recent death of a Border Patrol agent in Texas, Moore tweeted, "Doug Jones in the Senate equals no wall. No wall equals more senseless bloodshed. We must build the wall to protect Americans now."
And there we have it. So Lee Korfman did have a chance to talk on the Today Show. Let's hear more of her accusations against Judge Moore, and we want to get your thoughts on this at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Do you find her believable?
I've voted as a Republican for years and years and years, but this isn't political for me. This is personal. It's very close to my heart, and I've lived with this for a long time.
You know, when we think of this situation, and I don't know if there's a movie, if there was a movie called Men Behaving Badly, but you have these accusations against Roy Moore, the hashtag #MeToo and everything else. And before we get back to Roy Moore, let's get to good old Charlie Rose. Charlie Rose is 75 years old. Charlie Rose, as we gave you that interview with Steve Bannon when he was just so patronizing and condescending and sanctimonious and everything else. Well, now old Charlie has some issues where he's been suspended from CBS after multiple allegations from female employees claiming he acted inappropriately and sexually harassed them. Here is his CBS This Morning's co-anchor, Norah O'Donnell. Norah, what happened?
Women cannot achieve equality in the workplace or in society until there is a reckoning. and a taking of responsibility. I'm really proud to work at CBS News. There are so many incredible people here, especially on this show.
CBS News, the home of David Letterman, who openly had to admit that he slept with employees that were under him, otherwise a clear violation of the company's sexual harassment policy. But David Letterman got to retire. Charlie, not so much.
All of you here. This will be investigated. This has to end. This behavior is wrong, period.
Now, nothing personal, and again, we'll try to add some humor to this because we do try to live by that motto that we represent family values and we're family friendly. But I mean, when you're in the buff and unless you're, I guess, a bodybuilder or whatever, apparently Charlie Rose is accused of running around in the buff in his mid-60s in front of his female workers, in front of his colleagues. Why? I don't know. But apparently old Charlie liked to be naked. And you have to wonder whether it's men or women behaving badly. Where's the judgment, Gayle King?
I got an hour and 42 minutes of sleep last night. Both my son and my daughter called me. Oprah called me and said, "Are you okay?" I am not.
Are you okay? Gayle, did Charlie try and put the moves on you? How about the women that accused old Charlie?
Okay. After reading that article in the
old Charlie, he's a bad Charlie.
Post, it was deeply disturbing, troubling, and painful for me to read. That said, I think we have to make this matter to women, the women that have spoken up, the women who have not spoken up because they're afraid. I'm hoping that now they will take the step to speak out too.
There we have it. What about the presumption of innocence for Charlie Rose? Well, I guess he's suspended himself, so we'll see about that. Let's get to your thoughts, your views, with Pete from Mountain Home at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Yeah, Kevin, I have a question for Mr. Leroy in the congressional race. Who is he going to vote for? Because he can't vote for himself if he doesn't live in that district.
Well, he doesn't think that it's a big deal. He thinks, Christy Perry, I got you, Christy. Okay, you got me on that one. So,
he wants to represent a district that he doesn't think enough of to live in. Can I run for the senator of California?
Why not?
Come on. And he'll move if he wins. Boy, there's a commitment.
Some would say, maybe little confident.
Yeah, well.
Or another word for confident.
You don't live in the district, and you're not going to move there before you run, so you're not actually a resident of the district. So you can't even vote for yourself in the district you want to represent. That just, I don't know. It seems to me he doesn't think much of the first district.
Well, he thinks enough of it that he's going to run.
Well, sure. Yeah, he'd like to represent him. He just doesn't want to have to live there with him.
Well, look, the first district, really.
Well, yeah, I understand. I live over in the second district, so.
Oh, I forgot I live in the first district.
Oh, dear, Kevin.
It's tough
well,
here.
You ought to run.
Yeah.
Hey, and I want to say really, really thank you for what you did last week for the rescue mission. I think that was a great week. Did you hear how many turkeys they ended up with?
Oh, we did quite well. I'm still waiting for a final tabulation, but it was record-setting.
Great.
It was.
That is great.
Pete, we appreciate you listening to us here at KIDO Talk Radio. We appreciate your help and support. And like I said, it's amazing the people here in the community getting together. But you believe this is a big issue for Mr. Leroy?
Well, I think it's an issue of, it just doesn't seem right. It's like Hillary Clinton moving to New York a month before the election so she could be in the Senate. It's sort of if you're not, how do you represent a district that you don't even live in? I don't know. It just doesn't feel right.
Well, Pete, thank you for the call.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
All right, our good friend Pete joining us at KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Cindy from Caldwell at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Cindy.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. You know, when you mentioned Christy Perry, I was thinking about her interview and two things that she said, especially with Thanksgiving coming up. With the Elizabethan pilgrims, they didn't just wear pointy hats. They brought God into this country. And, you know, Christy Perry was very bold on, said we need God back. And, you know, she also stands strong on the Second Amendment rights, which as a pilgrim went to church, the pilgrim father carried his musket and he carried his Bible. I mean, guns back then. And you know what? I am just really sickened to think, because those pilgrims who carried their Bibles knew that for most people, and I'm sick of these women, a 14-year-old, you know, we had a 14-year-old ambassador back then. We have, think it's just great to have, out of marriage wedlock, and have all kinds of our high schools purporting, you taking care of the mothers while the kids are wherever, and that a 14-year-old back whenever, half their lifespan was over. So for these women to come out now and think that they have no culpability in putting themselves into situations that may be a little bit risky business.
Now hold on. You're going to have to expand on that. You're saying that some of these women put themselves in a situation where they could be compromised?
Of course they did, and every single woman knows that. I mean, if you're taught my grandchildren where to go, not to go, there was a time when brides blushed, and there was something about purity. You can't turn on a TV set without purporting sexuality. And so, yes, I think they do have some responsibility. So if you're going to say to me that you were 14, where we were freshmen in high school, whatever have you, and I did it myself, so I know I'm not pointing a finger at anybody. And it just is ridiculous, because I think even with our candidates, and 40 years ago, 30 with Judge Moore, it amazes me. My Bible, the Pilgrim's Bible, said, "All your righteousness is as a filthy rag."
Now let me hit you with this at KIDO Talk Radio. Okay, I'm gonna be the opposite with you. Okay, and a lot of people don't understand the culture of the South. And it took me 6 years of living in Alabama, another 4 in North Carolina, another 2 in Tennessee to get it. But, I mean, it was very common, and it's still common, that if you want to go out with someone, you ask their parents. And people are condemning that. Now, here you have the parents that, if you believe these allegations, didn't have an issue with Judge Moore in his 30s going out with someone who was 14. Now, it has been before you get me on this, Cindy, and I covered this in Alabama for years, the age of consent, at least until modern times, and I'm talking in the last 10 years, it still might be, the age to get married in Alabama was 14.
Mm-hmm.
And people they may not agree with it, but that was how the times were back then. So, you couple that with, he asked her parents, and how we're judging everything by today's standards, which, doesn't work. But, what about these women with Charlie Rose? When old Charlie got, apparently, he liked to take his clothes off in front of his subordinates.
Mm-hmm. What would you like me to say to that? If you put yourself into, seriously, women, you know what? I think it's almost laughable. So walk out of the room, do something, whatever have you. You are are you part of the problem, or are you going to be part of the solution? And I would think of a lot of women who are very attractive. I turn on TV and I almost want to laugh. You teach men who have a problem with their eyes. It's amazing in these sexual programs where you're teaching them, and maybe caught up in pornography or something like that, to bounce their eyes and don't look here and don't look there. I really have a great compassion for men nowadays, because I'm not saying the way you dress creates the problem, but I'm saying women are responsible too.
I'm saying leave something for the imagination.
Well,
the way I dress, Cindy, I leave a lot for the imagination.
I just wish you had your shoes on when you had your picture taken and you had your little socks on there and they're holding turkeys over your feet. That wasn't very smart. A frozen turkey on your foot could break your toe. But in any event, I'm just looking forward to, thanking that the Pilgrims did come on the Mayflower to bring the propagation of the gospel to this United States.
Sure. Now I want you to. We've got your friend on who's waiting. Do you want to say anything nice to him, the guy that criticizes everybody?
Oh, you know what? I want to say I honor him. Is that the gentleman who tends to have a different point of view? You know what? We had an Air Force person killed.
Here, we're going to put him on right now. Liberal
Sure.
Steve, you're on with Cindy.
Yeah. Steve?
Late at night when you're sleeping, Cindy comes a-creeping around.
Steve, I want to thank you for serving and for I heard you were once security because, we had a border. You chose to try to protect people, whether that be in a library, wherever you served, and I sincerely
Now, wait a minute.
mean that.
Remember that? Didn't you and he get into it on my? Didn't I call him on the phone and you and
Yes,
Steve started
but
yelling at? Didn't Steve start yelling at you?
No,
I never started yelling at
Yeah,
Cindy.
I
just
remember
wanted
you were
her to
on
say
speaker.
yes or no.
I was on speaker and you were screaming at her.
Well,
like a banshee, Liberal Steve. Shouldn't you apologize to Cindy right now?
He doesn't.
You
have
haven't heard
to.
me scream.
This is what he said. He wanted me to agree that I should be on the jury and convict Judge Moore, and I kept saying.
No, I didn't say convict him. I said
right.
if you're on the jury, would you find him guilty
See,
or not guilty?
he's starting to scream
Yes or no?
already. Look at him. He's starting to scream. Now, do you have anything you want to say to Cindy's? Do you want to say anything to Cindy's face since you usually do it behind her back there, Liberal Steve at KIDO Talk Radio?
I take issue with what you just said, Miller. That's a liable statement there.
A liable or libelous?
Have you got video of me talking behind her back?
We have audio. We do actually.
Are you allegedly?
I guess Cindy, he's not going to call you run on Cindy or whatever.
I wouldn't judge him, but I will be honest enough to tell him that if I lived in Alabama, I would vote for him. I would tell you that. I'm not on his jury, but if I had two choices and I lived in the state of Alabama, yes, I would vote for Judge.
Well, he's got two marks against him. Number one, he's a pedophile. Number two, he's a pervert.
Now, how do you know he? Now those are inappropriate comments.
Jim Baker and Tammy Faye Baker, they were allegedly two to start out, and so was the Jimmy Dean sausage preacher.
You notice, Cindy, he doesn't really say anything when he says
going
stuff.
Going out to his limousine afterwards and doing pedophile stuff.
Cindy, can you help us with him?
Jimmy. The Bible's been thumped way too much.
Now Cindy, can you help us with him?
No, but I know who he needs to temper himself down, and he will have the opportunity, like everybody else, to know the Pilgrim's God. And I'll just leave it at that. And I do appreciate his service, and I really
he served as a security guard in the library.
I want to know if Cindy's ever read this book, The Day After Roswell, written by a colonel.
Actually, I haven't, but if you want to get it to me, I'll read it.
You got to, check at the Wilder Library. They might have it.
All right, Cindy, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a blessed Thanksgiving. Bye-bye, Steve. Have a nice Thanksgiving. Bye.
Hey, you too.
Bye.
Hey, Charlie Rose has been putting his nose where he shouldn't. Golly, I'm just tickled pink to see all these things happening. It's like the God, the Creator, put Trump in there to bring out his soundbite that he didn't know was recorded, and all this stuff about Russia, and finding out that America's a little messed up when it comes to morals, and morals, the definition of that is just one's belief and
Now, do
behaviors.
you believe old Charlie was up to no good?
Oh, absolutely. I told my better half that from day one, watching him on the morning stuff, the way he said things and implied things. I said, Charlie, you're another pervert. They're just coming out from under the rugs.
So you actually have a pervert detector.
I am, my pervert radar goes out. I can line up 10 men, or if you want to line up 10 women, either way, I can tell you who the perverts are and who the pedophiles are. I should be working for the FBI as a profiler.
You know, they would say it would take one to know one.
Well, you know, it's like a criminal. You know, if you want to catch one, use another criminal.
Well,
but I'm not implying anything by saying that, Miller. You know that, right?
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I'm
but
no
anyway,
one to judge.
I think this but there, and I can't wait till state politicians and stuff. Of course, we have a pretty big population in Idaho, and but I think things will be coming out. We had a few, you know, that lost their GOP ranking and and ended up drunk in the back of a stolen van, and oh my God, it goes on. It never stops. It never stops. So I'm going to be happy. 2018 is just going to be a roller coaster. You know, it's going to be good.
Liberal Steve, thank you for the call.
Miller, thank you for taking my call. And get Ray a little fired up. You know, he's coming into Thanksgiving. He sounds like he's got a little bit of the blues.
Now you're critiquing Ray.
Well, get some good jazz going for him. Get him dancing.
All right. We always appreciate feedback. Gobble till you wobble. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And once again, blessed to be part of your day. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You know, you go back to the story about Charlie Rose, and is it just men behaving badly, or do you pick up on what Cindy was talking about, and basically are both sides to blame? And we'll get into that as we move along. By the way, our friend Joe, we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, Joe, for your comments and for keeping us abreast of all things going on in Nampa. Our friend Joe, the watchdog, we appreciate him giving us a message here on Facebook. Coming up, the ladies from Fox News, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Roy Moore accusations, and do you believe the ladies or do you believe the judge? And remember what we learned about with Bill Clinton. It doesn't matter what you do in your personal life. Traffic and weather together at KIDO Talk. And coming up, Fox News on the radio. Keith, hang on. We'll get to you from the bench. And the latest on all things local, state, and national from our news partners, Channel 7. 7 Cares just around the corner. Appreciate you supporting the great nonprofits in our community, making it a better place. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.